Okay, so we're all seeing it, right? The AI gold rush is in full swing. But what if it's all just a house of cards? Today, we're going to dig into a pretty bold claim that 99% of these AI startups are heading for an extinction-level event, and it's coming way sooner than you think.
To really get what might be happening, we've got to rewind the clock. The author behind this whole idea, Srinivas Rao, paints this incredible picture of being a student back in the late 90s, just watching the dot-com boom explode. I mean, think about it. You're driving down the highway, seeing massive billboards for companies like Alta Vista and Excite. And then, poof, a few years later, those same buildings are just empty. That's the ghost of a tech bubble, and it feels like it's starting to haunt us again.
So yeah, that's the first big idea here. This isn't some brand new phenomenon. We're living through a fever dream we've all had before. And the parallels are just uncanny. It's like the investor playbook is the same, they just updated the buzzwords. Back in '99, all you had to do was slap a .com on your name and boom, the money would just appear. And today, you guessed it, just throw AI powered on your website and it's the exact same story. Seriously, the labels have changed, but the logic, not one bit. It's the same script. You've got the crazy hype, the flood of easy money, everyone rushing to launch something without a real sustainable business model. It's all back. But here's the twist. The tech itself is different this time. And that's where we start to see some brand new, very interesting cracks forming. And that brings us right to the heart of the issue. We've got to talk about this one specific type of AI company that has just taken over the entire market. They're called wrappers. So what in the world is an LLM wrapper? Okay, imagine this. A company builds a really nice looking app, right? A slick user interface. You type something in, and what the app does is it takes your request, sends it off to a super powerful AI like OpenAI's GPT, gets the answer back, and then just shows it to you. The key thing here is they're not building the brain. They're just renting it. And this whole idea really clicked for the author when he actually signed up for one of these tools. It was a podcast post-production tool that promised to do everything. Take his transcripts and spit out social media posts, summaries, you name it. And yeah, it looked great, it was easy to use, and of course it had a monthly fee. So how much did it cost? $60 a month. And for a tool that's seemingly powered by this incredibly sophisticated AI, you might think, okay, that seems fair. But then he did the math. And this is the crazy part. He figured out he could recreate the entire thing himself just by making direct calls to the OpenAI API for less than $4. That huge difference between what they charge and what it actually costs, that tells you the entire story. Because really, when you lift the hood, this is all that's going on. It's not some super complex proprietary system. It's just a simple prompt pipeline. It takes an input, like a transcript. It runs it through a handful of pre-written, hard-coded prompts, like summarize this transcript in 3 bullet points. And then it just gives you the formatted text as an output. There's no special sauce, no real IP, and absolutely nothing to stop someone else from doing the exact same. And that, right there, is the dirty little secret of the whole wrapper economy. The entire business model is basically a bet. A bet that you, the user, will never realize just how simple and cheap this all really is. The second customers catch on that they can get the same or even better results for literally pennies on the dollar, the whole business model just evaporates. Okay, so if all these wrapper companies are so fragile, what's actually holding everything up? This is where we need to start peeling back the layers of the AI stack. And spoiler alert, it really does look like a house of cards. So right at the top, you've got this huge layer of thousands upon thousands of these wrapper companies. They're the ones we see, the ones with the user interface. But they have zero power. They are completely dependent on what's underneath them, which is, of course, a company like OpenAI. They provide the rented intelligence that makes all those wrappers seem smart. But here's the thing. OpenAI isn't the foundation either. To actually run their massive models, they're basically a tenant, completely reliant on the cloud infrastructure from the next layer down. And that landlord is Microsoft. As OpenAI's biggest partner and cloud provider, Microsoft controls the real estate. Pretty much every API call, from the smallest startup to a huge enterprise, is running through their Azure cloud. They get a cut of everything. But even the landlord has a supplier, a single source they absolutely cannot live without. And that brings us all the way to the bottom, the absolute foundation of this entire pyramid. The one true kingmaker in all of this? NVIDIA. And just look at these numbers. It is absolutely wild. NVIDIA controls over 90% of the market for the specialized chips used to train these AI models. That's not a market lead, that is a monopoly. They have an iron grip on the one thing everyone else needs. You take away their chips, and the lights go out on the entire AI industry. It's that simple. So when you lay it all out like this, layer by layer, you realize this isn't a stable pyramid at all. It's something much, much more fragile. This is it. This is the single fault line running through everything. The entire shiny, multi-billion-dollar world of AI, from the dumbest little wrapper app to the most sophisticated research model, is balanced on a supply chain that has a single starting point. One company. And having a single point of failure like that makes the whole system incredibly brittle. Just think about it. What if some geopolitical crisis hits and suddenly NVIDIA can't get its chips made? A hardware choke. Or what if a government decides these big AI models are a national security risk and shuts down API access overnight? A regulatory snap. Or, and this is the big one, what if someone invents a totally new kind of computer architecture that makes GPUs obsolete? A paradigm shift. Any one of these black swan events could set off a chain reaction that brings the whole thing tumbling down. This quote just says it all, doesn't it? That's not a stack, it's a fault line. All these layers depending on each other don't make the system strong, they make it incredibly fragile. Everyone is exposed to the exact same risk. A single crack at the foundation could shatter everything above it. Okay, so if most of what we're seeing is just disposable noise that's doomed to fail, what does a survivor look like in this world? How do you win? Well, the answer isn't about building a prettier app. It's about building infrastructure, something the system can't just easily replace. And you can literally see this happening in real time. You've got companies like Jasper or Copy.ai who built their entire businesses on top of OpenAI. They're basically just renting their intelligence, and now they're struggling because they have no real defense, no moat. But then you look at a company like Wrightsonic. They did something different. They actually invested in building their own smaller, more efficient models, and by doing that, they control their own tech. They control their own destiny. Really, it all comes back to asking the right and sometimes hard questions. The famous investor Peter Thiel has this framework of 7 questions you should ask about any business to see if it's built to last. Now let's just apply this to your average AI wrapper startup. The engineering question, do they have breakthrough tech? No. The monopoly question, can they defend their market? No. The secret question, do they know something no one else does? Probably not. For 99% of these companies, the answer to these crucial questions is just no. So in the end, maybe it all boils down to one simple, almost brutal question you can ask about any company. If it just vanished tomorrow, would anything important actually break? Would anyone really, truly notice? Because in this new AI world, the companies that survive aren't going to be the ones making the most noise. They're going to be the ones that are so essential, so foundational that the system itself simply can't afford to let them go.